Listening Comprehension Test. In this section of the test, you will have an opportunity to demonstrate your ability to understand conversations and talks in English. There are 3 parts in this section with special directions for each part. Answer all the questions on the basis of what is stated or implied by the speakers in the recording. There will be time for you to read the instructions and you will have a chance to check your work. The recording will be played once only. At the end of the test, you will be given 5 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Now turn to Part 1. Part 1. Direction. In this part, we'll hear 8 announcements or instructions. There is 1 question for each announcement or instruction. For each question, choose the right answer A, B, C or D. Then, on the answer sheet, find the number of question and fill in the space that corresponds to the letter of the answer that you have chosen. Now, let's listen to an example. On the recording, you will hear,
"Hello, this is the travel agency returning your call. You left a message about the holiday you've booked, asking which meals are included in the cost during your stay at Sunny Hotel. Lunch and dinner are free, but if you wish to have breakfast in the hotel, you will need to pay an extra amount of money, depending on what you order. Let me know if I can help you with any other information. Goodbye."
On the test paper, you will read, which meal is not included in the price of the holiday? A. Breakfast. B. Lunch. C. Dinner. D. All. The correct answer is A. Breakfast. We are ready to start. First, you have time to look at question 1 to 8. Now, listen carefully and answer the questions 1 to 8. Question 1.
So, tomorrow and Friday, we can expect more of this lovely hot weather, with bright sunshine and temperatures up to 24 degrees, so don't forget to wear sun cream. Saturday and Sunday will be cooler and cloudier, but it will stay dry without any rain, so you won't need your umbrellas, and there might be a few sunny periods.
Question 2.
Well, the zoo was a bit disappointing. The children enjoyed feeding the horses and watching the monkeys and the birds, but they hoped to see lions and tigers, and there weren't any. Someone told us they don't have them there because the security isn't good enough, but I don't know if that's true.
Question 3.
Hello. This is the travel agency returning your call. You left a message about the holiday you've booked, asking which sports are included in the cost. There is an extra charge for windsurfing, but if you want to play golf, that's free for all hotel guests, and horse riding is also available at no extra charge, which is good because I think you were especially interested in that. Let me know if I can help you with any other information. Goodbye.
Question 4.
And welcome to our Tuesday evening programs. At 9:00 we'll have the first of our new programs on sport, and today you can see live the final of the International Tennis Cup. But before that we have singer, Jane Shirley in concert. She will perform songs from her new CD. This will be followed by today's news from around the world.
Question 5.
The train arriving at platform 6 is the 4.45 from London. The train due to arrive at platform 4 in approximately 5 minutes is the delayed 4.30 train to London. This train will now depart at 4.50 and travel non-stop. We apologize to passengers for the delay. Refreshments will not be available on this train.
Question 6.
Excuse me. I was sitting over the 10 minutes ago making a call on my mobile phone. I got a pen out of my bag to write something down and I think my purse fell out. I can't find it now. Has anyone handed it to you?
Question 7.
This afternoon I'll be joined by Phil Harkins, the chef whose cookery books and television appearances have made him a celebrity. But this time, instead of talking about his award-winning books or his TV cookery courses, he'll be helping you. You may have learnt how to cook at home or at school, or maybe you went to a cookery school. But are you still unsure about a few things? Phil will try to clarify any doubts you may still have, so whether it's how to cook the perfect boiled egg or how to organise a 5-course meal, now's your chance. Call us from 3 o'clock.
Question 8.
Good afternoon, passengers. This is the pre-boarding announcement for Flight 89B to Rome. We are now inviting those passengers with small children and any passengers requiring special assistance to begin boarding at this time. Please have your boarding pass and identification ready. Regular boarding will begin in approximately 10 minutes' time. Thank you.
It is the end of part 1. Part 2. Direction. In this part, you will hear 3 conversations. The conversations will not be repeated. There are 4 questions for each conversation. For each question, choose the correct answer A, B, C or D. Then on the answer sheet, find the number of the question and fill in the space that corresponds to the letter of the answer you have chosen. Questions 9 to 12. Listen to the talk between father and son. First, you have time to look at questions 9 to 12. Now, listen carefully and answer the questions 9 to 12.
Hi, Peter. I wanted to ask you something. Do you know when your summer holidays start?
It's the middle of June, about the 13th, I think. Why?
Well, you know when Mum goes on her painting course in France, the week of the 16th? I've decided to go to Scotland.
Yeah?
A friend of mine called Jim has asked if I want to go with him and spend a week camping there. We'll do lots of hill walking and climbing.
Sounds great. Go for it, Dad. I suppose you want me to stay and look after the house, don't you?
Well, actually, I was wondering if you wanted to come with me. Jim has got a son your age, and he's coming too. I thought you might enjoy going off and doing a few things together. And it would be good to have a proper break before you start your summer job.
Oh, I see. That's a great idea, Dad. I'd love to come, but I really don't have the money for a holiday.
Oh, well, it won't cost much. I'll drive us up to Scotland. The campsite belongs to a friend of Jim, so that won't cost anything. And of course, Jim and I will pay for food and drink and things like that.
In that case, I'd love to come. Have you ever met Jim's son?
Oh, yes, several times, when he was a bit younger.
What's he like?
He's very similar to Jim. Easy to get on with, enjoys sport and good food. I'm sure you'll find plenty to talk about.
Perhaps we could all get together sometime soon, have a chat and plan a few things.
We could try, but it might be difficult. Jim's job takes him all over the world. But let's ask. Shall I phone him tonight?
Good idea. Catch you later, Dad.
OK, then.
Questions 13 to 16. Listen to an interview with a British who lives in Berlin. First, you have time to look at questions 13 to 16. Now, listen carefully and answer the questions 13 to 16.
Britta, you're English, but you live in Berlin. Have you lived here for a long time?
Well, I was born in England, but I've lived in Germany for the past 20 years. I arrived in Berlin about 4 years ago. Before that, I lived in Bonn for 6 years. But I work as a journalist, and when the newspaper moved to Berlin, I moved with them.
Were you pleased to come to Berlin?
Yes, I was. I was looking forward to being in a big city like Berlin. Bonn was quite a lot smaller, so I love the busy atmosphere and all the cultural entertainments here, museums, theatres and so on. The only thing I don't like is the traffic. It's a bit noisy in the mornings. It wakes me up about 6:30, but most days I have to get up early anyway.
Where do you live in Berlin?
I have a flat in the old part of the city. It's right in the centre, and it's not too expensive. It costs me about £500 a month. My street is becoming very popular. There are lots of new art galleries and small cafes and friendly restaurants everywhere. Eating out in Berlin is fun and it's cheap, so it's something I do quite often.
How do you find transport in Berlin?
Well, the transport system here is very good. So I have a tram and bus ticket. But in fact, most of the time I cycle. Travel here is much cheaper than in other countries I know. Perhaps that's why people don't walk very much.
What do you like to do in Berlin at the weekends?
Well, I like art, so sometimes I go to one of the galleries. I have a nephew called Philippe. He's only 3, but he likes coming with me. He likes the cafe best, I think. And it's a change from going to the park. That's something he does very often. He usually comes out with me while his parents go shopping.
Do you miss your friends and family in England?
I don't really miss England. Most of my friends are here. I don't see much of my work colleagues socially, but I've got some very good friends who live in the same street as me. I enjoy meeting people, and I find Berlin is a very friendly city.
Thank you for talking to us, Britta.
Questions 17 to 20. Listen to the conversation between two friends. First, you have time to look at questions 17 to 20. Now, listen carefully and answer the questions 17 to 20.
Hi, Susanna. I'm just going to the practice for the school concert. Are you coming to play your violin in the school orchestra?
I'm afraid not, Carl. I'm not at all keen on playing in concerts.
You're not nervous about performing in front of an audience, are you?
It's not that, but there are lots of other things I'd rather be doing.
But I thought you liked music. You have violin lessons, don't you?
Yes, I do, but I don't enjoy them. The worst part is having to practice for half an hour every day. I never get any better, and it just seems a waste of time.
Oh, I enjoy practicing, because then I feel that I'm making progress. In fact, playing the piano is a way of escaping from the stress of my schoolwork.
I'd be happy if I could stop my violin lessons, but my parents won't let me. They say I'll regret it later, but I don't agree. It's not as if I'm going to make music my career like you are.
I'm not good enough to be a professional musician, I'm afraid. And it's much too uncertain. I'm hoping to be a chemist, like my father. That offers much more security.
I want a good career too, but I don't want to be a teacher like my parents. Perhaps when I've been to university, I'll have more idea of what I want to do. I'll probably get a job abroad, because I'd really love to travel and see the world.
Well, there's lots of time to decide. But what about this concert? They really need more violins in the orchestra. Won't you come and join in?
Sorry, you can't make me change my mind.
Well, that's a pity. I suppose you won't want a ticket to the concert either.
You're right, but I hope it goes well.
That is the end of part 2. Part 3 Direction. In this part, you will hear 3 talks or speech. The talks or speech will not be repeated. There are 5 questions for each talk or speech. For each question, choose the right answer A, B, C or D. Then on the answer sheet, find the number of the question and fill in the space that corresponds to the letter of the answer, UD chosen. Question 21 to 25. Listen to a talk about a tour. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Hello. I'm Stephen Mills. I will travel with you on the Tiger tour to India, but I'm not your tour guide. I work as an artist and I'm going to take some photographs of tigers so that I can use them when I paint some pictures later. An expert guide will join the group when we arrive in India, but I'm leading the group until then. We leave London on the 6th of November, arriving in India the following day. It's a good time of year to visit the wildlife park where the tigers live. The rainy season finishes in October. And later in the year, the park gets more crowded and the tigers become shy. We'll spend 10 days in the wildlife park. There are 20 other types of animal and 300 types of bird to see as well as tigers. There are 18 of us altogether and everything is organized for our comfort by the tour company. For example, although we're in the jungle, we won't have to sleep in tents. The hotels where we'll stay are all very comfortable. To be sure of seeing tigers, we'll stay in 2 different parts of the wildlife park. We'll spend 3 days in the north, where we'll travel around in an open truck, and the rest of the time in the south, where we'll travel around on elephants. That should be fun. On the way back to London, we have dinner and 1 night's bed and breakfast in the Indian capital, Delhi. You can either go sightseeing or go shopping, whichever you prefer. But please note that lunch is not provided on our day of departure, as the plane leaves at 2 in the afternoon. Now, if there are any questions.
Question 26 to 30. Listen to a talk about a program. First, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 26 to 20.
Hi, my name's Rita Lewis, and I've come along today to tell you about my work. I'm a researcher on a television program, and I'm going to tell you about a typical working day in my job. Well, quite an exciting day, actually. But first of all, I should explain that I work on a wildlife program. I've always been interested in the sciences, and animals in particular, and I did my first degree in biology before going on to specialize in zoology in my second degree. My degree subjects are invaluable in my job, as they help me to plan things like deciding which animals to film, where to find them, and how to approach them. But I also did a postgraduate course in what's known as media studies that prepared me specifically for the television work, and it was the combination of the two things that really got me the job. The job has taken me to a variety of countries, including South Africa and Australia, but the day I'm going to tell you about was last winter, when I was in Costa Rica. I was in the jungle doing some filming for the program. I woke up at 5:30 in my room at the Corcovado National Park Research Centre. Before setting off, we had to pack up our filming gear, which weighs 50 kilos, and head out to the first location. Fortunately, there are 12 of us in the team, including 3 cameramen and a local guide, so we could share the load between us. For this particular TV series, the presenter, who's called Jamie, had to complete a variety of difficult wildlife challenges. You know the sort of thing, communicating with wild monkeys, eating insects, etc. Anyway, that morning he had to photograph a poisonous type of frog, and that meant getting pretty close. The animals are not that hard to find, and fortunately our guide found one very quickly. I had to hold it very carefully, though, while Jamie got his camera ready. For me, this is the best part of the job, when I get to interact with the animals. Our first location was on top of a 30-metre-high waterfall. First of all, we wanted to film Jamie abseiling over the edge. Next, we needed to get a shot of the same action from below. We can't risk sending the camera down on ropes, so we have to walk for an hour-and-a-half hike through heavy jungle to the pools beneath. By the time we'd done that, it was lunchtime. Some of the crew tucked into chicken legs and cheese sandwiches, but I'd got tuna in mine, which was fine for me. I ate them on a completely empty, beautiful beach, and they tasted like the best sandwiches ever. After lunch, the team relaxed for the afternoon, before the evening's filming. Jamie's next challenge was to cross a river where crocodiles live. The river is near the sea, so we had to wait for the right tides. You need to use a torch to spot the crocodile's red eyes glowing in the dark, and make sure they're not too close before you set out across the river. We found a safe place to film and set up our lights. We were using what we call a sun gun light, which is used to film in large areas at night. Jamie was just about to step into the water when the light went out. Fortunately, we had a smaller standby light, so we taped that onto the camera. We shone the new light over where Jamie was about to step. There, right in front of him, was a 3-metre-long crocodile. It must have come up from under the water while we were changing our equipment. Oh, that was close. We moved upstream where the water was lower. Jamie finally crossed, but when you see the program, you'll see he looks genuinely scared on screen, which is unusual for him, as he's usually really calm and relaxed on camera, whatever he's doing. So, it was an exciting day. For me, getting out in the wild is the best part of the job.
Question 31 to 35. Listen to it talk about guidebooks. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 35. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 35.
I'm Tim Cole, and as an experienced travel writer, I'm here to tell you not to believe everything you read in guidebooks, because following some of the recommendations they give can result in the most bizarre situations. I'll never forget the night I arrived in Sydney, for example. I'd turned up at the address of what I thought was a budget hotel given in the guidebook at 1 a.m, exhausted and looking forward to a few hours rest, but instead found myself at a comedy club, which at the time I didn't find at all funny. The problem is that too many travellers are too trusting of their guidebooks, and don't bother to research even the most basic facts before they set off. Some guidebooks are only updated every couple of years, so it's no wonder many things have moved on by the time you get there. The most important thing when choosing a guidebook is to check the publication date. If it's not within the last 12 months, don't buy it. Then, the other thing to think about is who the guidebook is aimed at. If you're into the history and culture of a place, don't buy a guidebook full of information on the alternative nightlife scene. But my pet hate, and something I'm always extremely wary of, are the restaurant suggestions. So often I've turned up somewhere and the menu, price and decor bear no relation to the place I've been reading about. If they haven't already gone out of business and shut down, that is. Other things to look out for in a guidebook are the maps. These need to be detailed, but not so small you can't read them. You don't want to have to carry a magnifying glass around with you. Books that include unnecessary information are another thing I find annoying. Like photos of famous places, for example. We already know what the Eiffel Tower looks like. Why not include more background information instead? Of course, most guidebooks are also now available in a digital format, and many travellers prefer using these, because they're obviously not heavy to carry, so you can download as many as you like. But I don't find them easy to use at all, because navigation is much harder than flicking through the index at the back of a book. Life's just too short, and you can never guarantee you'll have Wi-Fi access anyway. Until I can get a digital travel guide which is tailor-made for my individual trip, I'm happy to stick with the traditional form of guidebook. However, on my trip to Hawaii last summer, I experimented with a new way of getting good travel advice: Twitter tourism. Instead of using a guidebook, I decided to rely on the advice of locals and visitors alike, and let them choose what I should visit, where I should stay, and what I should eat. I didn't mind as long as their advice was based on a recent experience. It actually worked out really well, and it felt like a real adventure. Without the Twitter travel tips, I'd never have visited the ukulele festival or eaten spam sushi. One thing I'd never imagined doing, and I'm so grateful for the advice, was a 10-kilometre kayak expedition along the coast for a nighttime swim with manta rays in a huge cave. A truly magnificent sight. And my top tip for anyone visiting Hawaii.
This is the end of the listening paper. Now you have 5 minutes to transfer your answer to the answer sheet. This is the end of the listening test.